So in this final video, I'm going to share with you a few of the things of not to do with BANT, or what to not expect BANT to be able to do for you as a salesperson. So the first point that's really, really important when it comes to any sales methodology, especially such as BANT, is to don't use BANT off the bat without building some initial rapport with the prospect. Build rapport, maybe have a look at where they've been, their career history, or maybe ask them a question around the office where they work or the environment which they're in. Try and do some research on them to get to know them as a person, so you can build that conversation initially to build that rapport. Ask them how their day's going, ask them how their week's going, or if it's on a Friday, ask them have they got any great plans for the weekend. Build that initial rapport and really show you're interested in them. It's a key factor, and if we use that effectively, it's going to build a rapport with the person, which is going to help us get that business and get them on our side. So the second point, which links into the first point, is get to know the person a little bit more before we start probing into the ins and outs of their budget and the authority and who makes the decisions in their company. Get them to trust and want to work with you as a person. And yeah, of course, we don't want to spend an hour of the meeting and spend 50 minutes talking about their football team. But if they've got a specific, sports team they follow, or maybe a specific hobby they've got, get to know a bit more about that. Get to really understand, tell me how long you've been supporting that team for, or how long have you been playing the musical instrument for, and how long has your rock band been going? Whatever it is that they do in their social time, try and understand a bit more about that and get to know them and build that personal rapport. So make sure that you have those conversations, get to know them. Don't try and expect to use BANT to get lots of business answers when we haven't done the work initially to get to know the person. So another key point is don't expect to get all of the BANT questions within one meeting. It's very likely with the nature of the business that you do that you may need a couple of meetings, maybe 2 or 3 meetings, especially if the deal is of a certain significant size, in order to work and get the information from a prospect. And suddenly going into one meeting with a list of 40 questions and expecting to tick them all off is not going to work. Except that it may take a couple of meetings, but be clear at the end of the meeting what the next stages are. So if you're going to do another follow-up meeting, indicate that, set the date and time for that meeting at the end and say, look, I've really enjoyed having a conversation with you today and I'd love to be able to understand more about your situation. How about we meet for another coffee next Friday at 4? How does that work for you? If they feel they've got a good relationship and rapport going with you, they're going to want to do that because they feel that you could be a person that can help them in their situation. If they're not able to do that or don't want to do that, maybe consider whether you've maybe talked too much or whether you've really listened or built the rapport that you'd like to. But don't always try and expect to do it on the first meeting. Chances are it won't. It may take a few, and we have to be a little bit patient and understand the sales cycle in order to make sure that we get the results we want. When people come and try and do business with me, I always take a look at what it is they're carrying. Are they carrying a nice notebook that looks professional with a good pen and writing down key notes? And if those notes then go into a CRM system that they can use to record the conversation, so when they look back and have a meeting in a week's time, they can remember and see, yes, I remember we discussed X, Y, and Z. BANT on its own will give you great insight, but the key thing is then how we store that insight and record it in the right place that enables you and your colleagues, if needed, to be able to access that information and use it effectively within a proposal or to follow up with a prospect. Store the information in a good book, or whether it's a notepad or an iPad, and then make sure it's stored into the system. But don't spend all of your time tapping away or writing things down. Make sure you're having a conversation and writing down key points or highlighting key points. And then use that back in your conversation with the prospect another time to say, I remember when we met last time, you mentioned that this and this was an issue for you. Let's talk more about that and why that was a concern, or why that was something you wanted to resolve. It shows the prospect that you care about them, that you really were interested in them, and that you're keen to develop that further and really get to the bottom of this problem they have, and hopefully then give them a solution to solve it. Another key thing is this: BANT as a methodology will do incredible things and will help you if you ask the questions that I've said in the right way, get a huge amount of insight and knowledge into your prospects, and will help you win more business. But let's be clear, don't just expect BANT to sell for you. You as a salesperson have to be accountable yourself. We all as salespeople have to look good, we have to smell good, we have to act in the right way, we have to be in control of our actions, we have to make sure we're saying the right things and not saying the wrong things in certain situations. We have to make sure we focus on our prospects rather than focusing on ourselves. And if we do that, and if we focus just on who we are and what we want, the chances are our prospects will see through that. BANT as a methodology will give you so many insights, and if used in the right way, and if you watch what your prospects say in response to the questions you ask, will give you the insights you need to be able to make the right decisions. But don't expect it to sell for you. You as a salesperson are accountable. You've got to look in the mirror at the end of every day or the end of every month and say, what could I have done differently? How can I have approached that situation better? How could I have maybe looked better or prepared better for that conversation? BANT on its own will not sell for you. It still relies on you as a salesperson to make sure that you're learning and adjusting your approach to get the right results. And the final point about how not to use BANT is to not use BANT as this guideline. If we follow without making changes or amendments or improvements, will actually somehow get us to the end point without us having to do anything else. I mentioned previously that we've got to be accountable as salespeople, and part of that means that we've got to look at how we can learn, improve and be coached and supported to be able to ask the right questions. Maybe the question you've asked was asked in the wrong way. Maybe you asked a question to the wrong person. Maybe you asked a question at the wrong time. There are huge amounts of things that we as salespeople can do to be self-reflective and look at how we can improve. And part of my role to be able to support and help you is to be able to know when and what to do in certain situations. How can I help you get the better results through asking the right questions in the right way, or from being able to listen to the conversations you had and then maybe suggest a few areas where you could improve. BANT on its own will work, but it only works with salespeople that want to learn, that want to adjust their approach and want to get better at asking those questions to get the answers around budget, authority, need and timing. If we take that approach and we want to look at how we can get better and ask questions in the right way, I can assure you, you will see an increase in your sales numbers. And I'm going to be there to support you and help you get those results so that you can effectively engage your prospects, know when they're a good fit to work with you and close more business.